Good evening, dear friends. Now, the Supreme Court this morning or today gave some judgment with regards to Rivers State. First, they declared that the Martin and Mewole fraction is legitimate, and secondly, it asked the Central Bank of Nigeria to withhold the allocation of the state pending when a legitimate budget is presented, and then it sacked the local government chairman elected on the 5th of October 2024. So let's take these issues the way they are. Now, I said earlier today that judgment is sound in law, in the sense the fact that going by that judgment or some of the items contained in the judgment, one could say that that judgment is a landmark judgment. Now, what the Supreme Court established today is that a state governor or a member of the executive has no right under our laws to declare an action unlawful or unconstitutional without the court. That's just the establishment. That was why the court said that those guys remain lawmakers until a court declares them otherwise. Now, this is, if we look at the overall advantage of that judgment, it will help to curb executive recklessness, so that you don't have a governor waking up one morning to say, this is the House of Assembly I want. But beyond politics, let us also look at it from the criminal side. If, for example, somebody is said to have committed murder, and the governor just pick up the person and decide to execute him because the law says if you commit murder, you will die, without not subjecting him to the legal process. So that's what the Supreme Court established this morning, which is that nobody or no governor or no member of the executive have powers to declare an action illegal without the court. On that basis, the Martin and Mewole fraction is the valid Rivers State House of Assembly, if at all there's a fraction, going by the Supreme Court judgment. Now, we knew, or for those of you who may not know how this case started, what happened was that the Martin and Mewole faction filed an executory order before the court saying that they are the House of Assembly and that the governor should be asked to lay the budget before them after he delayed to the other fraction in 2023. Now, they went to the presidential villa for a peace talk. The governor went and withdrew his counter affidavit. Because the governor has withdrew counter affidavit, the court now gave judgment in their favor, recognizing them as the House of Assembly and setting aside the Rivers State budget. The matter was appealed. The Court of Appeal upheld their ruling. Now, the governor now filed an appeal before the Supreme Court. Based on the judgment of the Court of Appeal, they now filed another one before the High Court, saying that since the Court of Appeal has upheld the ruling that Rivers State has no budget, that the central bank should cease allocation of the state pending when the governor decided to present a valid budget. Now, when the matter now went to Court of Appeal, after the Federal High Court has seized the allocation, the Court of Appeal held that on technical grounds that the matter ought not to have even gone to a Federal High Court. I'm just trying to summarize this, but the fact was that when all those matters were now brought before the Supreme Court this morning, the Supreme Court gave an interpretation, which is that the state has no budget. Yes, the state has no budget because the governor will look at affidavits, and the judgment went in the favor of these other people. And like I said earlier, it is in a bid to prevent a governor from exercising power arbitrarily. Now, with regards to the election of the local government that was nullified, what the Supreme Court said was that some processes were not followed. Election is a process, so you have to follow all the laid down procedures. So since some of the procedures were breached, the election is thereby set aside. Now, the lesson to be learned here is that assuming, because people have been saying that those judges collected money, assuming though not conceding they did, there is a lesson to pick there, which is that the Supreme Court is simply saying that we should follow due process, and that no governor has powers to declare an action unconstitutional, only the court. Now somebody will ask, what is the way forward? The way forward is simple. The governor should subject himself to the legal process. What do I mean? He needs to show good faith. Since that action since that ruling has been given, I think the governor should first and foremost dissolve the Rivers State Executive Council as presently constituted. He should leave only the SSG and the Chief of Staff. Now, and then withdraw for a while and check any other option available. Then a new notice for local government election should be issued, and he should ensure that all the processes are observed leading to that end. As for the argument that they are going to impeach him, impeachment is a process. You don't just impeach a governor like that. If you file impeachment notice, the Chief Justice of the state will set up a panel, and if the panel finds him culpable, then you go ahead. So I don't think that should worry anybody. But what should rather worry every mind is, how will the governor meet up with his legal obligation, which include payment of salary, pension and gratuity? Well, he has options. So he may decide to wait for a while, because the issue of their status, that is the court sitting to decide whether those guys actually defected and whether they are still members of the assembly, is still pending before the Federal High Court in Port Harcourt. And I'm sure that with this ruling, the court will likely reconvene, and of course the matter might elapse up to Supreme Court. So will the governor wait for that process to unravel before the state will have the budget, or will he approach the House to ask them to approve any budget for him? That's 6. Those are the issues, before. Let's just be watching as they play. But I will advise the governor to show good faith. He needs to show that truly he respects the law, and he is a man who believes in constitutionalism. Good night.